And we are back for part two of WPSD Local 6 Legal Line, once again with attorneys Mark Bryant and Emily Roark from the Bryant Law Center in Paducah. We've been discussing the potential, actually the litigation that is happening now against Zantac and the makers of Zantac and the fact that it causes cancer. And that leads us to another question we have from an anonymous viewer who says, my mother took Zantac on a regular basis, died from bladder cancer in 2018. Can her estate file a lawsuit?
Yes, her estate can file a lawsuit. You just have to have taken it within the last 10 years from the time that you filed the lawsuit, or in that case, the time of her death. So as long as you've taken Zantac within the last 10 years, you can file a lawsuit, and we can handle lawsuits for people that have already passed away. We just have to open an estate. It sounds like they have an estate open, so that would not be a problem.
We have a question, and I think you probably just answered this, Emily. A person who says, I took Zantac on a regular basis for the past 5 years, do they qualify?
Well, let me say a little bit more about that, because as long as you've taken it for the last year, you have to have taken it for a year, or you could have taken it for once a week for a year, but you have to have taken it within the last 5 years in order to qualify. But the best thing is 1 year where you're taking it every day. But still, that doesn't prevent you from calling in and talking to us, because we've got people down there at the switchboard that are answering phones and taking Zantac calls from all over the country. And we'll get your medical records and find out, you know, what kind of case you have. And of course, there's some cases where you can't file a claim. But we'll figure that out and help.
If someone has been taking Zantac, but they have not been diagnosed with cancer, do they still have a case?
No, not at this point. If you've been taking Zantac and you have not been diagnosed with cancer, that is not a case that we could take right now. But you know, if you've been taking it and you're worried about that, just keep an eye on it. And if you get diagnosed with cancer, then feel free to call us.
We have a question from another viewer who is a little concerned about the length of time they have in which to file. They're saying, how long do I have to file this lawsuit?
Well, in Kentucky, we have a different statute of limitations than a lot of other states have. Sadly, Kentucky only has a year statute of limitations from the date that you knew or you should have known that Zantac, or ranitidine is the generic name for it. In other words, if the first time you heard about it is today, you got a year from today to do anything about it. But I wouldn't wait to the last minute. In fact, the first time you heard about it is today. I pick up the phone and call my office and talk to one of the people down there, Emily or me, or we got several other people that are doing nothing but working on these cases right now. So give us a buzz and we'll talk to you about it.
Leads us to a question from Raymond, who says, I took the generic brand of Zantac. It wasn't the prescription, but I took the generic brand, but I do have cancer. Do I have a case?
Well, I don't want to say no, but I would have several questions for you, Raymond. One, I would want to know if you had ever taken prescription or name brand Zantac. If you'd ever taken it, then it's possible that you would have a case. Also, there's several states, including Illinois, that if you've taken the prescription, then you may have a case. So your case is going to be much more difficult, and there's a possibility that you may not have a case, but it's worth at least calling our office and letting us talk to you.
Sounds to me like the bottom line in all of this, Mark, is that if you even think you might have a case, pick up the phone, make the call.
Sure, Dave, but here's the whole thing. You must have had cancer, and you must have taken Zantac or ranitidine in order to qualify even to get culled. And then we have to look at the medical records. And of course, they're going to want to know how often you smoked and did you smoke and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we've got to find out before we can tell you if you have a case or not. But when you look back at it, though, you're talking about bladder cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, and there are a couple more. And there's another report that's getting ready to come out, not just the one from Stanford, but another one in the next month or so they're expecting from another university research group that may increase the number of cancers that would qualify for this litigation. So just stay tuned, because we'll be back on here talking about it again.
The topic has been Zantac and the cancer-causing agent in it and litigation against the makers of Zantac. Our guests have been Mark Bryant and Emily Roark from the Bryant Law Center in Paducah.